Right now, the world isn't just reopening. Humanity is reawakening. This moment presents each of us with an opportunity to demonstrate who we are at our core. We are resilient humans, fueled by persistent optimism. Together, we can reimagine a better world. Understanding that every action we take today, no matter how big or small, will contribute to a thriving new tomorrow. Let's come together and make a difference for the greater good. Our businesses, our communities, one another, and the promise of more together days ahead.
Μόνο που θα το μετακινήσω γιατί δεν μου λένε έτσι.
Right now, the world isn't just reopening. Humanity is reawakening. This moment presents each of us with an opportunity to demonstrate who we are at our core. We are resilient humans, fueled by persistent optimism. Together, we can reimagine a better world, understanding that every action we take today, no matter how big or small, will contribute to a thriving new tomorrow. Let's come together and make a difference for the greater good. Our businesses, our communities, one another, and the promise of more together days ahead.
Dear Minister, distinguished guests, dear friends, I would like to welcome you and thank you for joining us today for this roundtable on U.S. Greece tourism, ties and prospects, organized by the American-Hellenic Chamber of Commerce. Taking a good look at recent and current developments and also having a look around this table, I would not think of a better setting to explore challenges and opportunities in incoming U.S. tourism and tourism investment in Greece. Emerging from the darkest days of the pandemic, this year our country opened its tourism season early, capitalizing on soaring demand for European holidays and seeing impressive recovery despite ongoing challenges and high levels of uncertainty over global developments. Indeed, any discussion on the state and future of the travel and tourism industry today has to begin with an honest acknowledgement of two key factors currently shaping developments: the ongoing effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, including the labor shortage, and the impact of rising energy prices at every level of the sector. Yet, even as it grapples with these challenges, Greece continues to be one of the world's top tourism brands, and it is also emerging as a prime destination for tourism investments, with more than 60,000 kilometers of coastline, immense natural beauty and geographical diversity, rich cultural heritage, and a well-developed tourism industry. Increasing political stability, successful handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, and a number of targeted reforms in recent years have further contributed to creating a favorable investment environment in this country. Notably, the Ministry of Tourism has stepped up efforts to upgrade and diversify Greece's tourism product and showcase the country's variety of niche offerings and its considerable potential as a year-round destination, both to increase revenue and to help alleviate pressure on key sites and fragile ecosystems. Moving beyond the 3 S's, sun, sea, and sand, the Ministry is working with local government, local communities, and other stakeholders to highlight different regions and alternative forms of tourism. A renewed push to promote wine tourism across the Peloponnese and northern Greece, as well as gastronomy and local food culture around the country, is emphasizing the country's strong culinary and viticulture traditions. Meanwhile, particular emphasis is also given to boosting the MICE industry, meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions, and further supporting traditional strong areas such as medical and religious tourism. The country's upmarket offering is also booming. Greece has become a luxury tourism hub with several new developments and US and global luxury hospitality heavyweights investing in their presence in Greece, catering and attracting a growing number of high spenders. While Greece's tourism product is increasingly diversified, a number of new routes have been established connecting Greek airports with key markets, including Asia, the Middle East, and the United States. And ship arrivals are experiencing growth too. Cruise ship arrivals at Greek ports are expected to grow by 25% in 2022, while 5.9 million passengers travel through Greek airports in May alone, marking a 371% increase compared to 2021, and a 3.4% increase in aircraft traffic compared to 2019, pre-pandemic levels. A good portion of these arrivals are from the US, with over 500,000 Americans flying to Greece this summer, thanks to a record number of direct flights following the renewed MOU on tourism cooperation between the US and Greece this April, that increases bilateral trade in travel areas. It seems clear that the time is right to invest in tourism in Greece. What remains to be seen is how we will shape and build upon the opportunities before us. So with these thoughts, I welcome you once again and pass the floor on to Tim Ananiadis, the chair of the Chamber's Tourism Committee, who will moderate today's discussion. Tim, it's over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nicola. First of all, I would like to thank Minister Kikilias for joining us. I know you have a very busy schedule. We're waiting for Ambassador Tsunis and Minister Georgiadis to come from Thessaloniki. It is important that we have a discussion of something that 2 years ago it was almost next to zero, to go to 100% today and pass actually the 2019 results. This discussion, we're lucky enough to have a group of distinguished guests that will share with us their opinions and their hopes for an increased number of flights coming in from the US. That's Our discussion is surrounding the U.S. Greece travel, inbound travel, and not necessarily the rest of the world, although we can discuss that. So we have 3 cycles of discussions. The first discussion is around the flights coming in and whether the airport can be a hub for, beyond Greece to Middle East or any other destinations in order to support possibly year-round, direct flights. The second discussion is around investment from the U.S. And I know Minister Georgiadis and probably Minister Kikilias will mention a couple of the big ones that just happened over the last couple of weeks. And the third discussion will be around infrastructure that I know most of you are interested in discussing, because we need the infrastructure in order for us to have tourism and investment dollars coming into Greece. So I will start, first of all, with a quick presentation from Deloitte, if we can. Should we go with Mr. Kikilias? Okay.
But remember that the minister will have to leave at 5.
Okay. So, Minister, would you like to address us for a few minutes?
Yes, I will address it. Technocrats, I have no clue what time means. We're working with Deloitte. Of course. Deloitte is a very, very serious company, high standard. We're very, very happy to have them as associates in the ministry. They worked in an exquisite program with SETE and in SETE and Market in Greece, and we're very thankful for that. Team, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I think Nikos Bagatselos couldn't have said it better. Maybe, co-join me in the Ministry of Tourism. It's yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to be among you once again. Now under a different hat, that of the Minister of Tourism. Yes, those 2 years of the Ministry of Health were unbelievable, unprecedented. What a crisis after 100 years, global crisis of public health. And I want to thank each and every one of you, everyone from his perspective, for the big help and the team effort that led to rebranding Greece as a safe destination. I think that the way we organized the country, from new ICU beds within the crisis to an exquisite high standard digital vaccination program, to rebranding the National Organization of Public Health with the mobile units, etc., set an example of how the private sector and the public sector should work together, and how the Greek administration, under, of course, the leadership of Kyriakos Mitsotakis, can use the crisis to rebrand the country. And, of course, the revenues or the outcome of the years that followed, especially in the field of tourism and investments, have shown that we are only 2% of Europe's GDP, yes. We are in the southern eastern part of the frontiers of our continent, yes. But we can excel and we can deliver, and we're trustworthy, and that's why one after the other investments are coming. And people, Pete, have decided that we offer a unique touristic experience, either way you see it, as travelers, as tourists, as investors, as Greece's friends. I've pointed out Peter Vlitas because he has been a key factor of me and the ministry being able to be compatible and link to big American airline carriers, especially that, in what has become a key factor of the upscale or rescale of strategy in Greek tourism. And yes, it is a big achievement that since the 7th of March and until I think the end of the year, Pete, maybe non-stop for the year to come, the American airline carriers, Delta, United, American, and Emirates, Yannis, we have to talk about them also, are bringing more or less 500,000 travelers direct to Greece from Atlanta, Chicago, Boston, Newark, JFK. Ambassador came on one of those flights too. Welcome, George. Welcome. 5-second timeout.
10 seconds for a hug.
Yes. So as I said, the American ambassador to Greece, George Tsunis, came with one of those flights. I do not know if he can find tickets for August or September nowadays to travel back to the States. It's
Too
that
soon to joke about it.
Yeah. It's such a successful program, and I see airline carriers, they're changing the aircraft to bigger ones, and then they're pushing forward. It was early November, now you see late November. Now some of them peaked early December. What does that prove? That it's viable, that it's antagonistic, that it happens with travelers, tourists, and cargo, and that there are no limits to it. And of course, the MOU we signed with the American administration concerning tourism and the great relationships that are constantly getting upgraded have led, and of course the successful visit of the Prime Minister and his whole concept on foreign relationships have led to this momentum that we seek to strengthen. And how is that doable and possible? Well, at the other side of that, you got the cruise companies. And they were laughing, dear President and Ambassador, when I said early in the winter that our goal is Thessaloniki, northern Greece, and cruise liners there. And now we have a 280% increase than last year. I don't know, they were laughing about Patmos. Patmos had 153 last year, 225 cruise ships this year. Piraeus, 130% increase. Katakolo, Iraklio, Rhodos, wherever you see it, there are big companies investing in our market and spending money on the Greek economy. And that's the primary sector, that the Greek goods that are produced are used by multinational companies here, condos, hotels, and the economy. 88%, recent research, 80% or 88%? 88%. XE and their president, Alexandros Vassilikos, did a research on more than 780 Greek companies. 80% of the goods they use are coming from our primary sector. And then again, how about the market? So restaurants, bars, ice cream shops, shops that sell clothes, when they're around touristic areas, of course, they get a much, much better possibility of being viable. And then again, hundreds of thousands of job opportunities within the sector, but also construction. Because if you talk about investments in construction in Greece, it's obvious that 8 out of 10 are 100% touristic or leading to a condo, leading to a touristic hotel or a venue. So peripheral airports and the investment of Fraport, new roads, new marinas, new ports. Is it easy? No. Is there bureaucracy? Yes. Do we want it faster? Definitely. Do we have the tools? We do have the ESPA, we now have the RRF, we got the private sector, we got the PPP, private-public partnership. We would like to do that and see it ASAP. Are we happy about the way it's been progressing? Yes and no. What is getting organized between the Greek presidency and Kyriakos Mitsotakis' office and the Ministry of Tourism? A bilateral agreement under the Prime Minister to be able to fast-track 25 to 30 big investments in tourism and to push them forward and to be able to take it into Parliament and nobody being able to block them from now on until they get concluded. Something like what happened previous to the Olympic Games. This obviously is a game changer and it will help create a viable, sustainable product. Well, Adonis is coming and you've met with Christos Staikouras and the exceptional ministers in our cabinet, but I am the Minister of Finance, since I bring 25% of the GDP to the Greek economy. And the growth too, since I bring 1 out of 4 euros in every investment. So, you know, They say that the Ministry of Tourism in Greece is the last in the list, Pete, but I don't know. Christos and Mr. Skylakakis and Mr. Petralias, they seem to be calling me every week to see how the income are. And we've been supporting, because of the energy crisis, and because of the inflation, and because of the war in the heart of Europe, and because of the escalation of the Greek-Turkish relationship, and because of all these global problems, we are able to support the Greek economy and the average Greek family. This is something that's making us very, very proud in the Ministry of Tourism. And of course, once again, the support of the Prime Minister and him traveling all over the world, talking about Greece in a unique way. I think this has been a complete success. And the crown to all that policy was the visit, Mr. Ambassador, to DC. And
I'm just drinking myself.
of course you are. Of course you are. Of course you are. But by the way, yes, I want to finish with this. We're happy to have an ambassador here that knows the country and already through the social media of the embassy in his own has been promoting this beautiful piece of land, this unique country that whoever decides to visit always comes back. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You took more than 4 minutes, by the way, but that's okay.
Yeah. Good luck there.
Ambassador Tsunis, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. If you would like to say a few things before we start the program.
I'd be delighted. Thank you. Thank you for a lifetime of great work in this most important industry in Greece. Tourism is something that is near and dear to my heart. It's well known to me. Before I took this job, I was a hotelier, and I understood the importance of investment in tourism because I also understood the economic spin-offs that came from it. So in Greece, this is more poignant. As my good friend, the minister said, 25% of the GDP of Greece comes from tourism. So as tourism goes, so does the Greek economy, but it isn't quite as simple as that. Yesterday, I was touring the new Four Seasons Astir Palace just outside of Athens. Where else, 25 minutes from a city center and 25 minutes from a major international airport, do you have a complex as beautiful as that, located on the water with Michelin star restaurants and a Nobu? And that is the type of tourism that is so welcomed here in Greece because they spend so much money. It's a very high-end clientele. And no one has to be an economic genius to understand the contributions to the VAT, the contributions to the Greek economy, the amount of people that it employs. But it was an $800 million investment. As I toured the property, I saw magnificent houses being built. I saw hundreds of people being employed. I saw new shops being raised. I saw a marina being built. Well, who services those boats? Who repairs those boats? Who builds those boats? The amount of money that people who come into that complex will spend. It has tremendous economic spin-offs. I met one of the leading biotechnologists in the world there, and he is now spending much of his life living in Greece and looking for investments in Greece. So there begets someone who fell in love with a hotel and a city and a people, who's one of the most serious biotechnology investors in the United States, looking to make investments in Greece. Greece has become a place where people are very seriously looking at allocating capital to. I'm going to be in Naxos in a couple of weeks with Amazon. I'm going to disappoint my father-in-law. I was supposed to be το πανηγύρι της Αγίας Marinas, so the Πλάτανο, όμως θα πάω στην Naxos. Όχι γιατί ήθελα να πάω στο πανηγύρι. But I was told this is an opportunity and it could create jobs for Greece. This is an opportunity for a U.S. company to create investment and jobs in Greece, and I have an obligation to follow up on that. But we've all heard the litany of successes. Pfizer, I'm leaving tomorrow to go to Israel as Albert Bourla, a proud Greek son of Thessaloniki, receives the Genesis Award, and I'm bringing him back to Greece, and he's going to be my honored guest and speaker at the 4th of July party. He's donating that $1 million to the Holocaust Museum. So just look at the synergies. A Genesis Award, the money going to Greece, a Holocaust Museum. I'm hoping, if you read today's paper, that we can create that parking lot to make it a commemoration park for the Holocaust victims. That will also bring more people from Israel who want to spend time in Thessaloniki. If not people from all over the world, it'll be a crown jewel in Greece. I have said before, as tourism goes, so does the economy, because the spin-offs create investments in so many other sectors. But I'm going to leave you with one other thing, as I fear I've gone over my 4 minutes. Something that Konstantinos said, and I think to paraphrase it, he said it about Cretan philoxenia. You knock on a Cretan door as a stranger. That door opens, you are welcomed into the house, you're invited for dinner. If there is not enough food, the family doesn't eat. You are welcomed into that house for the rest of your days. This is Greek honor. This is Greek philotimo. This is kalosini. This is philoxenia. So to all that are thinking about spending a summer vacation, a fall, spring, or winter vacation, you could not come to a more beautiful country, and you could not engage in more beautiful people. They truly are artists when it comes to philoxenia. And it's an honor to be with all of you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. We are very happy to have someone with us that knows tourism inside out and tourism investment inside out, which is a very important part of the Greek tourism industry, especially when it comes to the U.S. So we will have a quick Deloitte presentation. We try to concentrate on the inbound tourism from the U.S. and how that can affect us and how that affects Europe right now, and what is the portion of the tourism outbound from the U.S. to Greece right now compared to Europe, and we can see that there's a lot of opportunity there for us. So, Theodore?
Thank you very much, team. First of all, it's an honor for me, Ambassador Tsunis, Minister Kikilias. Thank you very much for your kind words, Minister. It's more than an honor to work with you for the future of Greek tourism. And thank you very much, the American-Hellenic Chamber of Commerce, for the invitation. When invited, we were thinking what to discuss about, and we believe that, and I believe that the topic that we have chosen to share with you are insights from very, very recent research Deloitte has undertaken on U.S. outbound tourism. Hopefully, it will provide, my presentation will provide some food for thought and some insights that will help everyone in this at this table and everyone watching us think more about how to attract more U.S. travelers, how to take advantage of this great relationship that we have as countries. First of all, I would like to discuss a bit about the imperative. Why is U.S. tourism, outbound tourism, so important for Greece? Very briefly, because it's a huge topic. The U.S. is one of the world's largest outbound tourism markets. As we can see in 2019, according to the U.S. Department of Commerce data, more than 100 million U.S. citizens traveled outside the U.S., undertook international travels. It's the third global country in international travel departures, according to 2018 data, and the second global international travel expenditure, behind only China. And of course, Europe is the #1 destination for US travelers, apart from Canada and Mexico, of course, which are neighboring countries. So in 2019, the last pre-COVID year, Europe had a 19% market share of the US outbound tourism. Of course, US outbound tourism was very harshly hit by the COVID and especially the international departures, but hopefully this will return back to normal very soon. What is also worth noting is the average length of stay of US travelers, almost 16 days, and the average expenditure per day, which is reaching $170 back in 2018, again, according to the latest available data. What does this mean for Greece? The US is already a major source market for Greek tourism, as we all know. It's the third country in terms of tourist receipts, according to 2019 data, the sixth country in terms of tourist arrivals, again, all those are according to the pre-COVID data. The average length of stay was almost 11 days, and the average spent, converted to dollars, at around $107 per day. So in a simplistic, I would say, way, it seems that we do have a lot of room to further extend the length of stay of US travelers and also the average expenditure. We welcomed almost 1.2 million travelers and a similar 1.2 billion euros of receipts from US travelers. In my opinion, there is a huge potential given the greater relations that we have as countries, and it seems that the US traveler, Greece appeals to the US traveler as a destination. Further to that, I would like to share with you the insights from Deloitte's research. We undertook as Deloitte during the last spring 2 major surveys. One is about the holiday summer travel of US citizens, and the other about the corporate travel. So it's recent surveys, and hopefully it will provide some insights. First of all, I would like to provide some data about the intent to travel and the budget. The 2022 summer the summer travel will likely surpass pre-pandemic levels. According to our survey, 46% of Americans intend and are traveling, hopefully this summer, and staying in paid lodging, not only in families and friends. This is more than the numbers in 2019. What is also important to note is that COVID-related concerns are in decline. Of course, they are concerns, and Americans seriously take those issues into consideration, especially for international travel, but as an importance, it is declining, and trip characteristics play more important role. As you can see, 6 in 10 travelers consider geopolitical developments as important, and given also the unfortunate developments in Ukraine, this factor plays an even more important role, and especially for international travel. Also, budgets seem to be much higher than the pre-pandemic levels, especially for marquee trips, which we mean the longest summer trip travelers intend to make. So as we can see, budgets are increasing. Almost 1/3 stated that they will spend more, and even if those that, the 15% that stated that they will spend less this year, substantial part of those are saving for international trip, as we will see. Consequently, this could be another opportunity for Europe and of course for Greece. So what happens with international travel? It seems that American travelers, at least during the spring, were reluctant to travel internationally, which makes it even more important that we will be attracting quite a few American travelers in Greece this year. 27 of the respondents replied that they are planning to travel internationally this year, which was almost the same percentage, the same proportion observed in 2021. Back then, there were more policies, COVID-related policies. I think that now they're a bit more loose, let's say more relaxed. So hopefully this has changed. What are some key characteristics of the U.S. international travelers? They're more informed, and it's rational to pay more attention and to influence their decisions, factors like the geopolitical conditions, the quarantine requirements, the social distancing norm, etc. in destinations. They book earlier, so in March and April 2022, more of half of them had already booked their summer holidays. They tend to spend more and to seek more luxurious experiences. And also what is, please keep that, what is important to note is that one main driver for traveling is remote working. And I will come back to that as a trend that we can see it potentially will stay. Europe remains the most popular destination, and especially for 2022, almost 50% of Americans that intend to travel internationally choose Europe as the major destination. And what is also worth noting is that 6 in 10 international travelers aged 15 and older, 55 and older, plan to visit Europe, whereas for younger travelers, this percentage drops to 40%. Our research shows that there is pent-up international demand for international travel that potentially will be further unleashed next year. We can see that especially for travelers that belong to higher income groups, a major factor prohibiting them of traveling internationally or spending more is because they are saving up for future international travels. So the combination of the facts that potentially this year, in general, Americans will travel internationally less, and that they're saving up for future international travels, for me, it's a huge opportunity for the future. And especially since this is driven from higher income groups. I will go now to a couple of trends and developments that have derived from the COVID-19 pandemic, which we believe, according to the research we have undertaken as a lot, that potentially they're here to stay. First of all, it seems that workplace flexibility and the fact that people can work from home or away from their home country creates a new and lucrative traveler segment, what we call in the law the laptop laggers. People who bring to work together in their summer vacations or in general their vacations. And I would like to distinguish this segment from digital nomads because it's quite different. And of course, digital nomads present substantial opportunity, but this is something different. These are people that, as you can see, 1 in 5 travelers stated that they will at least partially work over their longer summer trip. And these laptop laggers predominantly belong to younger and wealthier traveler groups. Also, they travel in larger parties, so potentially they will travel with their family or even extended family. They spend more, and they are willing to increase their travel budget in order to have this trip, which combines also work. And they travel for longer, and also they are willing to extend their trip in order to accommodate their need to work and due to the ability that this can provide. In my opinion, this provides also a huge opportunity to extend the season. Americans, as you may know, travel throughout the year to Europe. Of course, in the summer there is a peak season, but there is a more smooth seasonality. And also the fact that many of them can have the flexibility to work during their holidays potentially provides an opportunity for a more extended season for Greece. In brief, what are they looking for? They are willing to pay more, and they seek more luxury and premium products and amenities. They are more, they're inclined to use loyalty programs, and we can see some examples trying to take advantage of that. Of course, they're careful travelers. Geopolitical conditions, quarantine requirements, etc., are influencing their decisions. They are more likely to stay in private rentals instead of hotels, which will lead us to another trend that we can see evolving. And also, they're travel time savers. They want to spend less time on traveling for the vacation, so direct flights, I think they're very important. In terms of what they're seeking from their lodging, a quiet and comfortable space, perhaps away from the rest of the travel parts so they can work. Fast and reliable Wi-Fi, of course, to be able to be connected. Flexibility in order to be able to reschedule in-destination activities in order to accommodate their work schedule. And convenient access to wellness-related amenities so that they can combine wellness with their vacation, with their holidays and work. The second major trend that we can see evolving due to the COVID-19 among, of course, American travelers is private rentals. It seems that private rentals are becoming more mainstream in terms of a choice for US travelers. So according to our research, 34% of the summer rental travelers have tried renting a private accommodation for the first time during the pandemic. And this was up from 28% in 2021. What is more important, is that 70% of them are willing to continue staying in rentals, at least for half of their trips, going forward. So this is an indication that this trend is here to stay. And what are the reasons driving this private rentals trend? Working remotely is for sure a major driver. Also, the longer trip duration and the ability to have extra space and more private space. But it seems that travelers believe that they can find these characteristics, if I may call them, also to hotels. So maybe this is a challenge for, let's say, traditional lodging establishment, but also it can be an opportunity. It depends on how we can see it. But although trust in property brand, available amenities still remain at the top 5, the big movers are around remote working, longer trip duration, etc. And the last but not least, and I have been trying to be very brief, of course, if we want to elaborate more, I will be at your disposal. I would like to briefly go over the trends that we can see and the insights on corporate travel, according to the 2022 Deloitte Corporate Travel Survey. Speaking always for the US market, it seems that corporate travel will not reach pre-pandemic levels even in the end of 2023. According to our research, it will reach up to 68%, 70%. There are doubts if corporate travel will ever reach pre-pandemic levels. Of course, as the economy grows, potentially it will reach at some point, but there are factors that may affect corporate travel more in the long term. Of course, the continued workplace flexibility. We've seen that companies adopting work from home policies in the long term will spend less on corporate travel, whereas those companies that will bring employees back to the office intend to spend more on corporate travel. But there are many companies that intend to retain work from home policies. And of course, the cost containment imperatives and the sustainability goals and commitments are something, factors that are here to stay. So during the pandemic, there were health concerns that restricted and limited corporate travel. It will be cost and sustainability major drivers that we see affecting corporate travel more in the future. International corporate travel, of course, faces even bigger barriers, more challenges. But for Europe, things are more optimistic because it leads as a destination US-based corporate travelers. As we can see, around 54% say that they will resume travel, but below pre-pandemic levels, whereas 24% for Europe will get back to traveling. And finally, I would like to try to give some insights for the more long term. Apart from a lower size of corporate travel, we may see shifts and changes in the shape of corporate travel. We asked participants from US corporates, from US companies, if they see several use cases of corporate travel being able to be replaced by technology, and depending also on how essential they are to business, we tried to plot what do we see as use cases that they can thrive post-pandemic, and what are those that are more challenged from technology. So anything that has to do with client relationships, with getting closer to the client, potentially it will get back to pre-pandemic levels and even grow further. Whatever is more transactional, like internal trainings or internal team meetings or industry conferences for content, potentially as use cases as more niche markets, they will struggle. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
I hope
sir.
it was useful.
Thank you very much. It was very good. Because Mr. Kikilias will be leaving pretty soon, I wanted to touch a couple of points, discussion points that directly affect him. The first one is obviously the increased direct flights from the US to Greece, to Athens, and hopefully to other destinations like Thessaloniki, and whether actually, and that's for you, Yanni, initially, is whether the airport can become a hub for a year-round travel, for US travel, Latin American travel, in general, North American travel to beyond Greece's destinations. So this way, we're able to secure, some year-round direct flights from the US to Greece, to Athens. So Yanni, if you can answer it first, and then I'll go to Peter and a couple other people after that.
Thank you very much, Tim, Minister, Ambassador. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for the opportunity to participate at this discussion. Obviously, the US market is a very important market for Greece. Allow me to say, in a bit of a heretic way, it remains a niche market if we look at the numbers. We're talking about 600,000 individuals compared to a total market of 31 million in 2019. So there is enormous growth potential. Now, when we talk about aeropolitics and hubs, let me clarify that as a matter of principle, hubs are not built by airports, hubs are built by airlines. And here we have certain things and political and geopolitical issues to observe. Greece is in the European periphery of the European Union. The European Union has taken certain fundamental decisions when it comes to network carriers. We had three major groups, one around British Airways, one around France KLM, and one around Lufthansa. They were supposed to be the key players, key network carriers around the transatlantic market. And the rest of the European regions were supposed to feed those carriers. So we know where the hubs are. On the other hand, we have had in the last, let's say, 20 years and post 11 September, the creation of very specific carriers and big hub carriers in the region. The one is obviously Turkish Airlines. Just to give you an example, Athens currently, with the increase of direct flights, has 63 frequencies which are operated by all three major US carriers plus Emirates. So 9 daily flights. Istanbul has 133 weekly frequencies, which are all operated by Turkish Airlines. So there are no US carriers flying there anymore. So they can drive and they can determine their own destiny. That being said, this is a reality that needs to be observed. And of course, next to Turkish, we have the three major carriers, network carriers in the Gulf, Emirates, Qatar mainly, and now second rank Etihad. But there is a very, very strong competition. In Greece, we have a very good airline or airlines, meanwhile, as home-based carriers, but they play their role as this is provided for in the European context without any subsidies, without the ability to take and lose hundreds of millions across the Atlantic by pilot flights. This being said, of course, there is additional space for cooperation with US carriers, but we know what the realities are. Let's once again repeat that we have very strong growth of US carriers with additional destinations and much longer period. However, we have only one carrier who is year-round. So I think, I'm not sure I gave you a straight answer, but I think I tried to describe that the idea of a hub in the context, in the traditional context, both in the European, the Southeastern Mediterranean, but also in the context of the Middle East, is not an immediate reality.
Peter?
Yeah, I would agree that it's not an immediate reality, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities. We have been very successful in showing the value of an American carrier to come to Greece. A lot of the credit, most of the credit goes to the Ministry of Tourism, the present minister and the previous minister. There is, as Greece is seeing the explosion of tourism, right? And Greece has been behind for many years. And where we are today is because of the recent years of the government changing and putting its impetus on Greece is a great place to invest and making it easier to invest for travel and tourism. American carriers, we do have the three major carriers, American, United, and Delta, coming to Greece now during high season. They don't fly every day, all the flights, but they have put their best equipment, their newest equipment, and they service the major hubs, which is the Northeast and then Chicago. Obviously, there's room to grow if we look out in California. So the question becomes is, can Greece become a hub? Sure, but in order for Greece to become a hub, it needs downline space. It needs, the American carriers needs a partner that can then take traffic from Athens or Thessaloniki, which we're working very hard and hopefully we'll have some success in 2024, to other destinations. And that we don't have today. Delta Airlines, Air France, and KLM, as you said, are partners in their hubs. They're in Amsterdam and in Paris. Matter of fact, over 65% of the traffic KLM flies through Amsterdam is connecting. They don't stay in Amsterdam, they connect points beyond. Many years ago, I would say 30 some odd years ago, when we had Tower Air and TWA, and Athens was a hub going into the Middle East. You have now the Middle Eastern carriers, Qatar, Emirates, and Etihad, that are, fierce competitors. I'm not really that concerned about the Turkish and their operation because they have different needs and they play a different geopolitical game within the travel and tourism industry. And they have, but the point I do want to make out is Istanbul is a hub with a very large airport, but they bring in their traffic and then they have Turkish Air to take people to points beyond. So can Greece be a hub? The possibility is there, absolutely. Can Greece be a hub for Southern Europe and points in Middle East? And actually, you can come over the top because if you know how you fly, the world is kind of round, right? You can come in over the top, land in Athens, and then you can go all the way down to Africa where there is opportunities. And given the positive outlook of Greece tourism and the support of the government, there is that possibility. But in order to make the possibility a reality, the Greek government has to work very closely with the American carriers, but it needs a partner who is willing to make the investment to go past Greece into the other parts.
Thank you. One of the segments that actually don't exist at this point as much as it used to is conferences, incentive travel, corporate travel, as we hear. So that's a question. That's a question for Dimitris and Alexandros, whether that travel can help the year-round travel from the U.S. with the airlines, and how much can that affect you?
Yeah, it's Wyndham is the world's biggest franchisor of hotels. We've got about 9,000 hotels around the world, and what we have seen in Greece, we actually have 12 sites already out of 5 brands existing in Greece, and we definitely see the traffic coming in. The good thing about us is we've got 95, and you talked about loyalty. We've got 95 million people in our loyalty club, and actually those are people who are making decisions for their own businesses, either being small, medium enterprises or big businesses. And guess what? When they see the presence of a brand in a country, they actually make a decision that they want to spend their MICE business in that country. The important thing, and you raised a very good, interesting point. Actually, the fact that corporate travel is less makes the CFOs very happy. They see for the last 2 years they've made so much money out of cutting budgets that even if the marketing people or the research and development people they say we gotta travel, the CFO will say no, I'm really happy with the money that I made. So for us, what is important? Get to talk to these people, get to talk to the decision makers. Who are the decision makers in the MICE business that you can actually talk to them and say, look, Greece is the place to be. So it's like when you travel, right? Who's the right person to talk to Stefanos to travel? His PA. It's not Stefanos, it's his assistant that makes the decisions. So find the right people who are making those decisions, make sure that you sell to them, you sell the destination, you sell the abilities, you sell the year-round destination, and that's why you can increase your business travel. So that's what we do.
Okay, thank you. Alexander?
Ministers, Mr. Ambassador, President, I will object to what my good friend Dimitris said with a very short story. I was talking to a Greek bank last summer, and they were telling me that's it, we're never traveling again, we're spending too much time, too much money in the Greek islands, speaking with hoteliers, now we do everything online and we're very happy. I say, yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but you might change your mind if you know that the other bank, your competitive bank, is in Crete right now, looking at your clients. They spend the whole summer traveling in Greek islands. So yes, you might see the spending side of it, but at some point someone is going to go visit your clients. And I think that it's too early still to take final conclusions of what the COVID has left behind. But if there are a few things that we must say, is that we have a market now that is not as clear as it used to be. Like the Deloitte presentation pointed out, we used to have business travelers and leisure travelers. Now, I don't know many people who go on holidays and don't work, and I don't know a lot of people who don't go on a business trip and want to combine it with holidays as well. So it's getting very blurry. I think that the main thing that we have to look at is our ability to adapt. And this, over the past 2 years, we have demonstrated as a state, as hoteliers as well. We have had a very good reaction to what came up, which obviously nobody had predicted. And I think that the new evolution is a disruption, is a constant disruption that we will need to follow up and make sure that we are not left behind. So it won't be easy, but it needs a business model and a different business model, and most of it a different state of mind. And I'll close by apologizing because I will leave early as well. I'm going to taste a bit of Crete hospitality, so I have to catch the flight.
Thank you, Alexander. Actually, this is a personal opinion that the direct flights have also a marketing, benefit to the country and the destination that we never talk about it. Secondly, before I turn over to Andreas regarding the cruise ship industry, I think if we're serious about getting year-round cruising in Greece, the direct flights are going to become an important factor. I was told that that's not the case, but I'm asking you, Andrea, and anybody else who would like to talk about that.
Good evening, good afternoon, ambassadors, ministers. Regarding the cruise sector, the restart of the cruise sector came from Greece last year, which was thanks to the government, the Ministry of Tourism. We have a lot of things to achieve, quite a few challenges in order to sustain the growth we need and also to be able to secure the home porting, which at that given point comes predominantly from European cruise companies, which are subsidiaries of the US corporations. But in order to have traffic from the US cruise lines, we need to work on the infrastructure of the ports. And then we need to do marketing, because there's no marketing for the cruise product per se. And also, we have to find the best model, how we can run homogeneously all the ports together at a very efficient port management in order to see the growth we all want to.
Thank you. George, are you on the line? We have two people on the line actually remotely. One is Mayor Koukas from Mykonos and George Kyvernitis, who got COVID and couldn't join us. So George, are you there? Here you go.
Yes, I'm here.
Can you give us an idea of, because you are one of the major travel agencies that deals with inbound tourism from the US, you can give us your feedback?
Yes. First of all, Mr. Ambassador, Minister Kikilias and the American Chamber, thank you for this. We do represent Amex GBT, and we do service a big portion of the American travelers that come to Greece as a DMC, meaning a domestic management company. I think that a lot of the esteemed guests touched on a lot of points. I think I will stick to why the U.S. travelers are very important. I think Stavros Konstantinos from Deloitte mentioned very well that the U.S. traveler spends about 10 days approximately here in Greece, and the important aspect of that is that they don't stay at one place. They don't visit one hotel or stay at one property. They do what we so-called island hopping. So they visit 3, 4, sometimes 5 locations and destinations, and they experience the large number of services from air, yachting, private tours, wine, or culinary. and many more services. So I think it's important. Also, when we have a majority of guests that compare you with a Michelin star flooded destination, then the sole path for growth is through upgraded experiences. It makes us better. When we do have people that want better service and they're so sophisticated and well trained because they've traveled around the world, then that would make our market better. Another point that I would like to touch is sustainability, basically. Boutique destinations, they do have the luxury of missing out on high spenders. And I think Andreas touched it on the cruise side as well. Given the fact that a lot of destinations in Greece are quite fragmented, a lot of popular ones, then it's key infrastructure that is extremely difficult to expand. So the only sustainable way forward is tapping on the higher spending tier of guests. And the US travelers are quality versus quantity. And I think in our country, this is what we need to focus on: marketing aspect, on what we're going to develop as services, even as far as the investments also is concerned. The investments that we need to bring in, they need to match the high-end traveler as well, because this is what's going to be moving forward, extremely important for the country.
Thank you. Thank you very much, George. Peter, you had a kind of comment, and then if anybody else, because I don't see a lot of you, if you have a comment on that, I would like to say something before, while I have the opportunity, so go ahead.
The only thing I want to add is that from Internova perspective, we represent 1/3 of all agents in the United States, roughly 60,000 agents, and we're probably 50% of all the cruise business sold in the United States. And there is the middle market and the high-end market. There's the riverboat market, and it's a huge market which not only has the benefit, if you home port, you'll have thousands of people who will need a hotel room, thousands of people who will need a flight into Greece, thousands of people who need to go out and have dinner. Therefore, the Greek government needs to create a plan, and not only to invite and have incentives for cruise lines to home port in Greece and spread them out all over Greece, but I truly believe that the Greek government needs to establish an office in Fort Lauderdale, where most of the cruise companies are based, and have a permanent representative there that will coordinate with the cruise lines at all times. You know, Minister Kikilias said something great early as far as, you know, the Ministry of Tourism and where it ranks, but what it really is. And us who understand the economy of Greece will realize that travel and tourism is the strongest engine Greece has in today's world. And I think the Greek government needs to expand on that. And so Minister Georgiadis, as far as investment and expanding, the Greek government needs to put an office in Fort Lauderdale to directly deal with the cruise lines. Thank you.
Do we have any other comments on this before we move to the next segment? Minister Kikilias, what we wanted to tell you is that you are the person that actually started looking into where actually our business should come from, and you spend a lot of time, and thank you very much for actually putting your money where your mouth is, because a lot of times we've heard it before, but it was never happening, definitely for the U.S. market. So thank you. Before we go into the investment part, Minister Georgiadis? No, you can leave. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Minister, would you like to address the
First of all, thank you for the invitation. I want to thank the Hellenic American Chamber of Commerce, of course, His Excellency, Mr. Tsunis, that he's here. It's the first time that we're in an official meeting, with press and the people. And I wanted to welcome you in our country and wish you a great success in the big responsibility you've taken, represent the United States of America in Greece, as a person that knows very well both of our beloved countries. And I would like to say some words. First of all, excuse me, I was a little bit delayed. I came just from Thessaloniki, so the flights can be a little bit out of the program. But I'm here to answer to any question. Just a few words in the beginning, and then I will answer to any question you may have. During my term, the last 3 years now, there has been a significant improvement in U.S. presence in Greece. I have to be very honest, if in the beginning of my term I would hope or imagine that all these things would have happened in 3 years, I couldn't believe it. The truth is that after many years, the American presence in Greece is really very, very strong. Even just a few days ago, we launched a cooperation between Yekten and Hard Rock, for example, for the casino in Ellinikon, which was a big success because, this process had some ups and downs, but at the end, an American company took over and is starting to build a fantastic tourist destination in Attica and the Ellinikon project. But not only in tourism sector, which many other investments have already been done, some of them with Thames and Mr. Theodoridis and with other big companies, but in various sectors. Especially I would like to recognize the digital sector, which has really made the difference. As a government, we worked in a very constructive way with the American government and the previous one and the current one. The first thing we did, we excluded Greece from the countries that were blacklisted for the spiritual rights of U.S. companies. We managed to pay all our debt and respect all their spiritual rights. And after that, we signed a deal with the U.S. government that encourages U.S. business to come and invest in Greece in the digital sector. In between and after that agreement, a lot of investment have already come. I will tell you the most known of them. Pfizer, which was the first that came, Digital Realty, Microsoft, Amazon Web Services, Deloitte, and various others that are not so big, and some really big that will be announced, I think, until the end of the year, because we're in the process of another 2 very big good deals. So there is a pipeline of U.S. investments in Greece. The good thing is that the investors are happy about their choice. The country provides them stability, a very business-friendly government, and a labor force that has high skills in this area especially. We have a pool of labor force that we haven't really realized in the beginning how useful it could be. The pool of the Greeks that left during the austerity measures and the bankruptcy abroad. Many of them, when they find good business opportunities in Greece, they decide to come back. But in between, they have got real big expertise, and they can bring knowledge that we didn't have it in the country before. And of course, in the new partnership agreement in the RRF, we have a lot of money for reskilling and upskilling our labor force, exactly because we want to be able to attract this kind of investment even more. So in the business area, in the investment area, we are trying very hard our relationship with the United States of America to be equal as they are in the political level and the military level, which I think it's better than ever. Now, I was reading that U.S. said no to Turkey for the F-16, and they are giving to Greece Harpoon missiles, which was a big issue for us. I was just reading it before entering the room. I don't know if Mr. Tsunis has something to do with that, but if he had, we want to congratulate him. So the main idea is, okay, we are best friends with the United States of America. There's no doubt about it. And this is a friendship that stands on values, on history, and for the first time, big majority of our public opinion, which is very important. We can build on this excellent relationship to tie our countries and the economic field as much as we can. The government believes in this area, and we're working in order to do it. I think that until the end of the year, we'll have, with Mr. Tsunis, His Excellency, with my friend George, we will finish the process of the LFC CPR with Onyx, which will be also a very big deal for the country, and we will continue attracting FDIs from the United States of America. Some small words about the direct flights I was hearing before. Direct flights, of course, helps in tourism, helps in investments also, because it makes us be closer to the United States of America and the United States of America be closer to Greece. I used one of these flights 1 week ago. I went to Boston with a direct flight. After 25 years, we had this flight again. It was fully booked. It was so booked that I couldn't find the ticket to come back, and I had to go through Paris, which was a terrible experience. And I was very happy. I was invited to a baseball game in Boston in Red Sox. And in the game, they were talking about the direct flight. They were promoting the direct flight. I was trying to tell them stop doing it so much because there's no any ticket left. Delta had decided in the beginning to put this flight for 3 months. Now they announced it for 5 months. And as they told me, most probably they will keep it throughout the year because it's so fully heavy. So we want more of these flights, Your Excellency. This is the important thing for us. Flights, tourist investments will secure a very bright and stable environment in our relationship in the future. And most important, will make to our people visible how good it is to have this excellent relation with the United States of America. Because at the end, all these decisions we as government are taking, pro-US decision, has to be translated to the ordinary common life of the people of Greece to realize that being such a good friend of the United States of America is good for them also. It's not just a general good of the country. So thank you very much, and I'm very open to answer to any question. Thank you, Mr. President, and my friend Tim.
Thank you very much. We have, for the investment discussion, we have some representatives of major companies that they invested for a long time in Greece, in the hotel industry and the travel industry in general. So I would like to start with the other side over there, where we have George, Stavros, and George, the other George Filiopoulos, to give us a little bit of a feedback of what your experience have been with your investments, and also Mr. Theodoridis over here, who represents a major company that's been investing for years in the hospitality industry. So, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Mr. Minister, Your Excellency, and thank you for the invitation. Well, we are living strange times, but I can tell you that for yachting and marinas in Greece is a great time. Unfortunately, we cannot capitalize this potential and what we live. I'm receiving every day hundreds of calls for yachts and clients who are looking for a berth in Greece, but we cannot provide a berth. What is reasonable is that we want to attract investors in Greece, but we don't have the infrastructure required to to capitalize this opportunity. We have to focus and we have to be determined to invest in marinas in Greece and upgrade our existing infrastructures. The investors from US. We hadn't seen them since, I think, 2009 was the last time we saw American companies like IGY, Safe Harbor Marinas, big companies, huge, who were interested in investing in Greece. And now we see CVC and other potential investors, but they are looking for existing infrastructure. They don't want to invest to something that will be reality in the future. So we have to be flexible. We have to. I was glad hearing the Ministry of Tourism, who spoke about fast-track decisions and fast-track legislation in the next period. It is required. It is necessary. Otherwise, we will not be able to capitalize this opportunity. And when I'm saying flexible, I mean fast and reasonable practical solutions. Let's say proposals like floating docks inside the marinas for a limited time to provide this service to our clients. It's a pity that the Minister of Tourism is not here, but of course, Mr. Adonis Georgiadis, who knows about this industry, and he has assisted in the past practically making decisions for new legislation in the marinas. I remember the parking issuance and the establishment of a new law, because it was not possible to have licensed parking in the marinas before, and Mr. Georgiadis, in just 2 weeks' time, if I remember well, he made it reality. So we need flexibility and fast-track decisions. It is required. Thank you, Mr. Ananiadis and the organizers.
Well, thank you from my side as well for the invitation, Mr. Ambassador. Adonis, very nice seeing you again. In Grivalia, for many years, we're investing in commercial real estate. And for the last 7 years, we are now heavily deploying capital in the hospitality, and particularly in the ultra high-end hospitality sector. We believe this is the game. And as we are looking now to improve our air fleet to 4th generation and 5th generation flights, we are coming as an investor to bring the 5th generation product in the country, which we really need. You mentioned about Four Seasons, Stavros Vouliagmenis. This is exactly the type of product we want to bring into our country. And in the Athens, in the greater Attiki region, we're going to have this type of products coming gradually. We're having our project in Asteria Glyfadas, which is going to be one and only ultra high-end hybrid resort. We have the Hellenic project with 2 amazing waterfront resorts coming from Temes Group, along with LAMDA. We have the casino integrated resort that the minister mentioned. I think we are reshaping the entire region of Attica, and other investments are following in amazing locations, especially in undiscovered locations in the Greek islands, in the Greek mainland. We have a huge investment capital plan. Currently, our development pipeline overpasses $500 million. We're going to soon be announcing a project that needs the assistance of the government in accelerating the development. It's going to be, I think, an iconic project from Greece. We're going to announce it very soon. Minister knows about it. And it's going to be, I think, the first fully sustainable hotel resort in the country, completely autonomous, because apart from the quality, apart from the services that we have to provide to the clients, we have to look into the sustainability aspect of our new developments. And this is what we are trying to do.
Thank you very much. George?
Dear Minister, Mr. Ambassador, Mr. President, thank you for the invitation. Well, Enterprise Greece is not an investor. It's the investment promotion agency of the Greek state. But regarding the interest in investments in the hospitality sector, I may say here that we have seen a great surge the past 2-3 years, even in the middle of the pandemic, there was great interest for investments in the hospitality sector all across the board, from hostels to luxury resorts to specialized projects in like wellness tourism and medical tourism and so on. And very recently, actually, a couple of months ago, we were at IHIF and we almost got mobbed by potential investors. We had 64 meetings in like 3 days, and Mr. Manikis was there, so he may attest to it. And therefore, at this point, our main problem is that we don't have the number of projects, because as I think Mr. Theodoridis, I think, mentioned brownfield projects. There is more interest in brownfield projects, not so much greenfield projects.
Okay.
And we don't have the number of projects to showcase to investors to accommodate the demand that exists out there, which is I would say, a good problem. It could have been bad if there was no interest at all. And we do believe that the country's brand has improved the past few years. This helps a lot. And this is something that we are aiming at further improving, because the truth is that the time that has passed since the end of the financial crisis in Greece is not that long, and there is still these negative images in the minds of many investors, especially I would say as we get more distance from Greece on the other side of the Atlantic, and this is something that we all should work on. Thank you.
Just a question to the capital allocators. I've always said that capital goes where it's wanted, but stays where it's appreciated. And it's very obvious to me that the central government has made investment, capital investment in all things a huge priority. As I travel, κάθε γωνία της Ελλάδας, τα προβλήματα που ακούω είναι the local governments are problematic, the little municipal things. My closest friend in Greece, it took his father 30 years to build what is magnificent place in Messenia, where 80% of the employees are from the local area, and it allows them to continue to live in the area they were born, so they don't have to leave to chase economic opportunity. 30 years it took them. I would have had much less patience. So I guess my question to all of you is this on a local level still continuing? What can we do? How can we help? How can we get past the NIMBYism? I have heard horror stories of local mayors, who don't want these beautiful luxury hotels because, their cousin owns the little 3-star next door, and they somehow think by having a one and only or an Amman hotel that it's going to destroy the hotel that has traditionally been there for backpackers. I make a joke of this, but it's a very serious item. How do we, help the local people understand that when someone is coming to a one and only and spending 2,000 euros a night, what that means in terms of VAT, what that means in terms of infrastructure, those economic spin-offs, the employment, the construction, the local taxes, that it will only improve their communities. Because I just hear story after story after I travel through Greece that it is locals that and local officials that have put the brakes on what would be projects that any other place in the world would die to have. So I just wonder if you can comment on some of this and what's the pathway forward?
just said, what a great question. Mr. Ambassador, dear Minister, Αγαπητέ Nicola, thank you very much for the invitation. The answer is yes. And what we have to do as businessmen and investors is to really understand their needs as well. I think one of the mistakes of the past, it was that, you know, having a dream or a project and going somewhere to invest, it was not necessarily a great option for the local people as well, unless you were going through a process of engaging with them, sharing with them, and make them part of your dream, part of your project. We have learned out of that, and the last few years I have to tell you that we are getting a significant support from local authorities, from municipality, prefecture, this and that, on running big events, which to us is a major tool to attract people, especially out of the peak season, to improve certain standards around sustainability, looking or you know, cleaning streets and areas from stray animals, or running initiatives to keep the beaches and the forests and the roads clean and open. The way to achieve that, simple things, but at the same time so important for the product called tourism. You know, people who are coming to a place, they want to enjoy great quality of hospitality, including local experiences, great food, you know, getting some of the local stories. To do that, they need to feel safe. They need to be feel that they are within an environment that really respects who they are, what they are doing, and therefore running initiatives hand to hand with the local authorities is an instrumental to the success of such a business.
So local benefit packages.
Yeah, and making locals part of your dream, of your project, of your investment. Training them, share with them what you are planning to do. Make them part of the process and not, leaving them out of that project.
Anybody else?
Can I make a comment on what His Excellency said? First of all, Greece is not Greece when Captain Vassilis Konstantinos started Costa Navarino. Thank God it's not like that. Of course, Captain Vassilis Konstantinos was a hero. He should name the national hero in future, because if he was not so persistent and he hadn't this patience that I wouldn't have it also, Costa Navarino has never been built, and it's not only the revenues that the state would lose or the labors that would lose, but Costa Navarino proved that it was wrong resisting in this kind of project in the local community. Because before Costa Navarino has started, in all the polls, the majority of the people in Messenia were against, and now, after 10 years that it's working, the 95% of the popular opinion is for Costa Navarino. So Costa Navarino helped the country, not only Kalamata or Pili or Messenia or Peloponnesus, but the country to be improved. And we own him for that. But Greece is not that anymore. It's in a much, much better condition. I'm not saying we are not having local problems, for sure. We're living in a democracy, and you can always find someone that he wouldn't want to work properly. But if you want to build investment like Costa Navarino or One and Only or Four Seasons or a big investment, I mean, with the laws we have now, you could bypass 100% the local communities. Because you will come to us, we'll give you all the permits central by the government, and you have almost nothing to do with the local mayor or the local prefecture. This is a service we give through Enterprise Greece and the Ministry of Development. We are still very far behind the Marinas area. I have to be very honest on that. Thank you that reminding me that one of the first things I solved as a Minister of Maritime Affairs in Papadimos Garno was this was the old Greece. 5 years there was a law, and the secondary legislation was never issued after 5 years. Why? Nobody knows. When I was informed by LAMDA Marinas, I issued in 2 weeks. They had lost 5 years with no any real reason. But this was the old Greece. Now we're much faster, but in the Marinas areas, we still have a big bottleneck. I'm working with the Ministry of Tourism to find a way out of that because I'm not happy. I want to go much, much faster in this area. Greece has a huge potential in this area. We worked in the past together. I worked with Marinas in the past and now. On the Ministry of Development, we want to work even more. This is an area we can expand ourselves hugely in the future. We have a big project in Rodi Island, which goes very, very well, to be honest. And we're working with Ionian, with LAMDA in Hellenikon also and everywhere. But there is a local problem, but not so big as before. And from the other side, I have to encourage all investors to find a way to communicate with the local communities. Because at the end, governments come and go. Investments will stay. You always have to find a way out to work closely with the local communities because this will make sure that your investment will stay forever. But George, believe me, this new Greece that is starting to be built is much, much different than before. People realize now that having FDIs, it's good for the country. Okay, we will have still some bureaucratic problem or in our legislation and some decision of our High Court and all this. There are in process, but overall the progress is really significant. This is the reason we are managing to attract this kind of investment. Four Seasons, one and only, Mandarin, Amman, W. I mean, there are a lot of brands that are coming now to Greece. That this is the tourist product we want, the high end, as Mr. Chryssikos said before, the high end tourism is what we seek for. Greece cannot attract more millions of tourists because our infrastructure cannot handle them. We want more high spenders tourism, and from that point of view, more American tourism, which are very good clients. I have to say that.
Thank you. Before I go to George, because the local government came up as an issue, and we have Mayor Koukas, I don't know if he's still on the line, if he has any comments on this subject, because Mykonos, of course, is one of the most well-known destinations for Greece and a high-end investment opportunity for for foreign investment.
Dear Minister, Your Excellency, dear Presidents, distinguished guests, honestly, I have many things to say. The last 15 minutes, I listened to so many things, and although I'm the only representative of the local authorities, which is not a fair play, and I couldn't be there today with you, because, at this time of the year, you cannot be out of Mykonos so easy. I would like to thank you for having this great opportunity to be with you. Mykonos, of course, is the best known destination of Greece in the States. This summer, we live an American summer here in Mykonos. We have so many American visitors that we are very happy for it. And as the Minister said, we like and we want and we ask for the high spenders. Mykonos is the center of the high spenders globally in Greece. And of course, Americans are high spenders and we are very happy to welcome them. We have for decades now American visitors here in Mykonos. Although about the cruise ships, this year, as the Minister Kikilias said before, Mykonos will attract 857 cruise ships, which ranks our port, the port of Mykonos, at the first position among all the Greek ports, also above Piraeus. We are happy that we have this achievement, but at the same time, we have to deal with it, having many, many boats every day in our port. I wanted also to say that to the ambassador, which said about the local communities why do they have problems. The local communities, they want to decide for the future of their place. And because our community, our municipality, is among those that maybe they create sometimes problems in a few investments, I would like to invite the ambassador in Mykonos after his visit in Naxos or before his visit in Naxos.
Δεν θα περιμένεις πολύ καιρό.
He said, δεν θα περιμένεις πολύ καιρό.
Okay, great. To invite him and to go around with him to show him the infrastructure that we have, what we try to have, what is happening in Mykonos, and why the local community unanimously is afraid of the big investments. Of course, we want all the brands that the minister mentioned, we want them all. The problem has to do with the size, the location, and the infrastructure, if there is enough infrastructure to have all those. With Minister Georgiadis, we often discuss it. We want the investments, but before we want to have the infrastructure and to finish our urban planning that we started with the government to do. So with those first thoughts and the invitation, I'm open to any other question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. George, sorry.
Well, we have a project in Mykonos, so we are facing some obstacles there, but I think we're going to be overpassing them soon. But, Mr. Ambassador, you are on the spot. There are still issues. Of course, there is no doubt that Greece now is a completely different Greece from decades ago. And we have a lot of support from the central government. Mr. Minister described the fast-track process, which is can be done on a one-stop shop through Enterprise Greece, but this concerns large investments, strategic important investments. It doesn't concern smaller investments that can also happen and take place in different communities across the country. Our experience is that we have some resistance from local authorities. And the reality is that first, we need to educate them on the benefits of our investment there, educate the competition that by bringing a global brand will elevate the entire community there and their own product as well. And very importantly also, we have to educate the US investors that are backing us that it's not a straightforward exercise to develop brownfield projects in Greece or greenfield projects in Greece. So we have also to be completely transparent, explain the difficulties and the time obstacles that we will be facing. And as long as you have done your work, there are no concerns from their side. But as you said, there are still problems. There is a room for improvement. And the good thing is that as soon as we develop it, it makes the life easier for the next one to come, because the standing result is a very good example of what we are doing.
George, I feel so close to you. My mother's maiden name was Chryssikos.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. You know, I would just caution any local mayor, including my new friend, the mayor of Mykonos, who I'm going to go see soon, because I'd like to learn and I'd like to be open-minded. And I think we should have dialogue. In my experience, and I've built a couple of things in my life, but I've also worked on the municipal side as well. There may be a mistaken misnomer here that because something is big, it necessarily will have greater impacts. We all have an opportunity to ameliorate any potential deleterious impacts on a project. And sometimes when a project is of greater size and scope, has greater capital backing, you have more resources to ameliorate these, maintaining the visual vista, building of higher quality, more sustainability, green roofs, where I can make a very good argument that the larger the project, the more responsible the developer is, they're better capitalized, the more reputational risk to themselves, because it won't be the only project they want to build. that they have greater resources and will build things to a much higher standard, will operate to a higher standard, will not cut corners. They will hire the best engineers, the best architects, the best construction companies, probably on a larger footprint as well. I actually think that in many cases today, if it's planned right with proper local input, not local blocking everything or NIMBYism, as we call it in the United States, but true input, working on a larger project where the project is of a 5-6 star setting, there are greater resources to holistically incorporate it into the community, being very, very, very sensitive to minimize the impacts, to create better roads going into it, better landscaping, better visual vista, and the maintenance of it. So I would only caution that bigger companies like yours have done this around the world, have done it well, have done it safely, with a lot of concern going into this process, because no one wants to create something, and I especially would not want to create something that would have a negative impact on the community.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I don't want to monopolize the discussion, but you are absolutely right. The larger the investment, the more requirements and obligations we have towards the community.
And the more you want to protect it.
Of course. First of all, in order to qualify it and to go through this fast-track process, the larger investment has to have also environmental impact study, very detailed, describing the sustainability offerings of the asset compared to a smaller development that doesn't need that. Just get a building permit and you build and you develop. As a company, we are, especially for islands like Mykonos, that they do have a problem. There is no doubt that the infrastructure cannot support the number of tourists now and the growing projects there. But knowing the demands and knowing the current infrastructure supply, we are also that taking into account. So, for example, in our project, we have staff accommodation, which is something that the island doesn't have. We are providing for the desalination in order to not to drain from the natural, from the current resources of the island. So we are doing all that stuff. And again, it's a matter of education, sitting down, discussing with the local communities, our vision, our strategy. And last but not least, as I mentioned about fifth generation projects, there are no fifth generation projects without taking sustainability seriously. We are highly concerned about our impact to the environment, our impact to the communities, and our minimum carbon footprint and the minimum drainage of the resources. So you're right.
Thank you. Because I know the ambassador has to leave in a few minutes. Anybody else that has anything that will address Mr. Georgiadis or the ambassador? Be happy to take any questions. Just because our next subject actually is sustainability and over-tourism. Listening to the mayor saying that he has 850 cruise ships approaching Mykonos, you understand the impact the over-tourism can have for us. So the question that I have, in general question, is there something that we can do, or are we doing something to minimize that over-tourism impact, especially when it comes to massive cruise ships coming in, or increased tourism in specific locations where actually the new projects actually can bring over-tourism into a smaller area, in Greece?
Regarding the cruise sector, I think the berth allocation system.
Not building ships.
The berth allocation, and then we have to decide which vessels go in which ports, because we have three sizes of vessels. We have the small vessels, like 150, 200 guests, 800, and then above 800, we have the 5,000. So not all ports fit for all cruise vessels.
I think sustainability is going to be key to the high-value customer deciding where they want to go on vacation. We handle the most high-value customers. And when you look at someone like Mykonos, which I do think has over-tourism, just like Santorini has over-tourism, I think the idea is, how do we plan for tourism in all of Greece and move away from the Golden Triangle, Santorini, Mykonos, and Crete? I think that the questions I would have is define what a large investment is, because high-value customers don't want to go to those big resorts as you have like in the Dominican Republic, right? Although some of them would probably do better here than some of the low-end large resorts, and I won't name who they are, that are here in Greece that I don't think have the ROI. So I think it's important that the government takes a lead on sustainability. I think we need to look at, in the short term, the reduction of plastic, the use of other than carbon energy. And I think it's very important that there is a plan put together, but not only for sustainability, but also on, in the United States, you can offset your carbon footprint, plant a tree somewhere, right? The reality is the airline industry is saying what's more important is look at SAF as opposed to planting a tree, because that really reduces the carbon footprint. But I think the government needs to put a plan and say, where's the next generation of tourists going to want to go? Is Mykonos reaching its boiling point? Do we look at Naxos? I know they're tendering airports and to make it a larger airport so we can have bigger equipment going in there. What about Karpathos? What about all Ikaria, all these other places? I'm down from Mani, so we really don't want any tourists, so just go to the rest of Greece. But no, the truth of the matter is, you mentioned earlier Konstantinos, the captain, and he was a pioneer. He had told me a story once that he needed 20,000 signatures, and the man was a great man, right? 10,000. He told me some great, but he knew he was never going to make any money. He knew he was a patrioti, and that's why he did it. But the truth of the matter is, Greece needs a plan, Minister. The infrastructure is not there, and we can't keep building and building and building, because you know what? We will reach that saturation point. And not only that, we don't want to be in a point where Iceland was, where they had over-tourism, and then the locals couldn't afford living in their own country. So Greece has so many islands, so many parts of Greece that is underdeveloped, that perhaps the time has come to pick other destinations and look to develop them. Thank you.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. For sure, Mykonos, Santorini are a little bit bottlenecks of our tourist industry now. You know that with our law, you cannot take a new permit license to build in these islands, only through the SHC channel, the big investment. The big investments, the SHC channel secures sustainability. The main idea is that, and this is the reason we are permitting it, because a big investment now would never just go to build. You could never attract the clients you want to attract in a hotel or in a resort that doesn't have sustainability. So through this channel, we secure the sustainability and the investments that are really important to our country. Yes, we are trying to find out new tourist destinations. Messenia is a new and a good example of that. 20 years ago, Messenia was zero. Now the Messenia is a high-end tourist destination, and it's proving even more. And Ioni with Amanzoy and Kilada Hills is also another one. So we are going to that direction, but it's not only a matter of the government. The government can subsidize or try to make it easier, but it's more an ambition of the private sector to look of new opportunities and to build them in that shape. With Grivalia, we're doing this kind of project, and I want to thank them very much. And my friend Prem Watsa, which I really like him very, very much, I have to say that. He's proved as a real friend of our country, and please give him my greetings. So I have to go.
Thank you very much.
Because we have a discussion about fuel prices now in the minister. So
I just want to add one thing. I think we're framing this conversation improperly, because when I hear 5,000 people on a ship and 857, that's a problem. And maybe we should have less and be more selective, and maybe we should think more of ourselves. And we're looking now to blame a one and only that has 100 villas that are going to rent out for $3,000 a night. That's a very small footprint, I'm sorry, but it's a massive investment that employs local contractors, et cetera, local people. So maybe it's a little less cruise ships that dump 5,000 people onto the port that are going to buy a baklava and a bottle of water. And maybe that's where we should start on sort of long-term sustainability issues, as opposed to delaying and saying no to world-class companies that want to spend $100, $200, $300, $400 million on projects that are going to keep our youth here, that are going to bring in very, very high-value tourists. I mean, Peter called it. We want to bring in high-value tourists because that's good for the economy. They have a smaller footprint, but better for our local economy. I honestly think we should start with saying, do we really need 857 cruise ships in one small island? And that's more of the problem than developing a one and only or a Four Seasons. What is it that we want to be? I mean, the ancient Greeks talked about conscious choices. What is the right choice? What is the wrong choice? These are conscious choices, and I think these issues are being improperly framed. And by the way, the answer is not to stop development. The answer is to pour more resources into our infrastructure so it can accommodate a more high-end tourist and improve the lives of the local community. There is never anything I would ever advocate ever that would be damaging to a beautiful place like Mykonos or Santorini. I would only advocate that we stop and ponder that knee-jerk reactions are not helpful, that we have intrinsic scientific data, and that we work together to make these places even more beautiful. And of course, we have to improve the infrastructure. But they're doing that. When you have Fraport come in and improve 14 airports, that's a very good start. And by the way, I've been in airports a lot in Greece lately. They're completely packed. We have to improve the rest of them. And then roads and so on and so forth. But we're only going to have the resources to do that.
Find a good development in the United States of America. This is a good question.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you very much, Minister. And thank you very much, President. Now.
Bye-bye. Peter.
Okay, thank you very much. We have any other discussion that we would like to have between us now that we don't have the officials?
Tim,
Yes.
can I just say, I had the pleasure of working in various different countries and obviously developing. I think we like to beat ourselves a bit too hard sometimes. I think that the same problems we're facing here, you can face them anywhere. It takes just a group of people to stop a huge development in the Caribbean or in the UK. So I think Greece is not worse, it's not better, but it's not worse than other jurisdictions. So it's not as bad as we think. And I have to say, I remember, I always say hospitality is for the people who love people. It's very difficult to have a successful project, either being a one and only or a 5-star or a 3-star, if you don't have people who love people to work there. So if the local municipality doesn't actually become part of what you're developing, it won't be successful. Because can you imagine somebody going back home and said, oh, I had such a great experience. I was in this amazing property and they were all serviced by miserable people. So the local people need to embrace. And I think that's what you've done, right? It took a lot of time, but when you go in there, it's not about the quality of the villa. It's not about the golf course. It's about the smiling people. Because, one of the challenges of Greece, and I think that this is something we need to talk about, is how many of our guests are actually repeated guests. The loyalty of the guest is very important, because it's nice to bring 35 million people, and I don't know, 10% of those are high spenders. How many of those are actually coming back? If you read what happened, and I live in the UK, and recently in the news, it's all about what is happening with overcharging people, over tourism. That's not good news. People are not going to come back. The question is, bring them, build it, and they will come. That doesn't apply anymore. It's about keeping them. So loyal to the destination, it's actually one of the key discussion points that we need to bring up at some point.
I'm not sure.
Is the mayor of Mykonos
on? Is the mayor still on?
I'm here.
Here he is. What do you have to say?
Mr. Mayor, can you address the issue that is really, we handle high-value customers, and actually, this year we've had the most million-dollar bookings, folks, going into Greece we've ever had. Can you address this issue of the overcharging that has hit the newspapers in the United States? And what is the Mykonos and the government going to do to stem that? Because that leaves a very sour taste among high-value customers.
Indeed, it's something that it did bad to the reputation of Greece, not only of Mykonos. It has to do with a specific restaurant, which it's not the rule in Mykonos. Those are not the price of Mykonos. Yes, they overcharged, but yes, they had all the legal documents. He paid his VAT, he paid his taxes. So practically, and I know that because also the Ministry of Tourism, which is above this restaurant, did the research, was not illegal. Because we live in a free economy, so you may have the prices that you believe that your product deserves, as long as they are known before to the customer and as long as you have a receipt. So it has to do with the mentality of a businessman.
I think sometimes it's an overreaction to a known problem that people will bring up a story and maybe not even true sometimes, but it hits the news. So the issue is what we do to counteract this. I think that's what Peter is worried that yes, the stories will come out, but what do we do as a local destination or businesses to address that issue? I think that's where the problem comes in right now. That we don't have a plan to react to the bad publicity. That's what Peter's comment was, Mayor.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, there was no rebuttal. So when the story broke in the United States, and we contacted the Greek government, just what you said was our expectation that somebody would turn around and say, wait a minute, this isn't really what really happened. So anybody who read the articles just came to the conclusion that Mykonos was overcharging the tourists, right? Instead of, yeah, it was expensive, and if you decide to pay it, look, there are places around the world that you can go and have a piece of cake and they put gold on it and you're paying for the gold that you're going to eat, right? So we know that. But there was no plan, there was no reaction to that in order to stem the negative icon it gave of your beautiful island.
May I reply?
Μπορείτε. Και μπορείτε και στα ελληνικά, δεν έχουμε λόγο να μιλήσουμε στα αγγλικά γιατί δεν υπάρχει. Ναι. Okay.
Ωραία. Έχετε μόνο δίκιο και σας ευχαριστώ. Είχαμε ακριβώς την ίδια πεποίθηση. Ωστόσο, θα πρέπει να ξέρουμε και για να βάλω το ζήτημα και συνέχεια και της προηγούμενης κουβέντας, ότι το νησί μας μπορεί να είναι πολύ μεγάλο, μπορεί να έρχονται εδώ και οι πολύ καλύτεροι πελάτες του πλανήτη. Ωστόσο, ο Δήμος Mykonos, τον οποίο εκπροσωπώ, είναι ένας μικρός Δήμος με λίγα άτομα προσωπικό, δεν έχει τη δύναμη να κάνει την επικοινωνία, την παγκόσμια, που θα έπρεπε να κάνει για να απαντήσουμε σε μια τόσο μεγάλη ιστορία όσο αυτή που έγινε με τις υπερχρεώσεις. Η επιχείρηση βγήκε αμέσως και έκανε ανακοίνωση. Στα ελληνικά μίντια διαδόθηκε η απάντηση της επιχείρησης, που ήταν περίπου σαν αυτή που σας είπα και εγώ. Στην Ελλάδα δεν βγήκε μάλλον παρά έξω, γιατί δεν πούλαγε η απάντηση. Καταλαβαίνετε τι θέλω να πω. Τώρα, όσον αφορά τις τοπικές κοινωνίες και το πώς βλέπουν τον τόπο τους, και αυτά που είπε ο πρέσβης και αυτά που είπε ο υπουργός, εμείς σας είπα και από την αρχή, θέλουμε να έρθουν και όλα τα μεγάλα brands. Ωστόσο, τρέχουμε πίσω από τις υποδομές. Γιατί ο Δήμος της Mykonos, για παράδειγμα, οι Δήμοι στην Ελλάδα επιχορηγούνται βάσει του πληθυσμού τους. Ο Δήμος της Mykonos ετησίως επιχορηγείται με 1,5 εκατομμύριο ευρώ από το Υπουργείο Εσωτερικών, γιατί επιχορηγούμαστε σαν Δήμος για τον τοπικό μας πληθυσμό που είναι 10.000 κάτοικοι. Όλος ο Δήμος της Mykonos με τα τέλη που εισπράττει έχει έναν προϋπολογισμό με ετήσια έσοδα 10 εκατομμύρια ευρώ. Όταν υπάρχουν επιχειρήσεις στη Mykonos που βγάζουν τετραπλάσια, τα οποία πάνε στο κεντρικό κράτος και μετά η επιχορήγηση έρχεται πίσω. Πληθυσμιακά. Άρα, ένα πολύ μεγάλο πρόβλημα που έχουμε η μικρή νησιωτική Δήμη με τον τόσο πολύ κόσμο, και μιλάω και εξ ονόματος της Σαντορίνης, γιατί με τον Δήμαρχο της Σαντορίνης τα λέμε πολύ καλά, γιατί έχουμε ακριβώς τα ίδια προβλήματα, είναι ότι τρέχουν τα νησιά μας και η ιδιωτική οικονομία. Θέλουμε να την εξυπηρετήσουμε, εννοείται, όλες τις μεγάλες επιχειρήσεις. Ωστόσο, σεβόμενοι τον τόπο μας και το πώς βλέπουμε τις επόμενες γενιές, δεν γίνεται να αφήνουμε αλόγιστα να γίνονται πράγματα χωρίς να υπάρχουν υποδομές. Ίσως είναι ένα καμπανάκι η άρνησή μας, για να απαντήσω και στον εκπρόσωπο της Grivalia, προς τις κυβερνήσεις, να δώσουν ανταποδοτικά, προκειμένου να ενισχυθούν οι υποδομές για να υποδεχτούμε τις νέες επενδύσεις. Ευχαριστώ.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ. Κύριε Βλαστέ και Λευτέρη, ενώ δεν σας πρόβλημα, αν
να
έχετε
σας ζητήσω κάτι, κύριε Δήμαρχε. Ξέρετε πολύ καλά ότι όσον αφορά το θέμα των επιχορηγήσεων, όσον αφορά το Δήμον, αυτό που συμβαίνει συνήθως είναι, ναι, μεν παίρνετε μία επιχορήγηση ως ποσοστό από τους κατοίκους, αλλά από εκεί και πέρα τα πολλά κέρδη έρχονται από τις εμπορικές επιχειρήσεις. Οπότε μην ξεχνάτε ότι και στη Σαντορίνη και στη Μύκονο έχετε δεκάδες ωφέλη, γιατί έχετε εμπορικές επιχειρήσεις που σας αφήνουν μία σειρά από κέρδη. Άρα είναι ένα κομμάτι της επιχορήγησης από τους κατοίκους, αλλά έχετε και κάτι άλλο, παραδείγματος χάρη, μπορεί να έχετε και μια περιοχή, παραδείγματος χάρη έναν άλλο δήμο, που να έχει πληθυσμό, ο οποίος να είναι πολύ εύπορος, να έχει πολύ ακριβές κατοικίες. Παραδείγματος χάρη, μπορώ να σας πω, το είναι δήμο ψυχικού Φιλοθέης, ο οποίος ναι μεν έχει πολύ εύφορους κατοίκους, αλλά επειδή δεν έχει αυτό το κομμάτι των εμπορικών μισθώσεων, είναι ένας πολύ φτωχός δήμος. Οπότε, καλό είναι να παρουσιάζουμε και τις δύο φάσεις και τις δύο φάσεις του νομίσματος, γιατί ναι μεν είσαστε ένας δήμος που δεν επιχορηγήσετε αρκετά για το θέμα των κατοίκων, αλλά νομίζω ότι έχετε αρκετά ωφέλη και νομίζω έχουμε και μια σειρά από θέματα που προσπαθούμε να επιλύσουμε και νομίζω ότι είμαστε στη σωστή κατεύθυνση. Από εκεί και πέρα, νομίζω ότι και εφόσον μείναμε μόνοι μας, νομίζω ότι είναι μια καλή στιγμή και μέσα στην επόμενη διετία, τριετία πάλι να ξανασυζητήσουμε τα θέματα των δημοτικών επιχειρήσεων και των περιφερειών, γιατί τουλάχιστον εμείς ως εταιρεία κινήτων του Δημοσίου έχουμε μια σειρά από θέματα με τοπικούς δημάρχους. Μαζί ευτυχώς έχουμε λύσει πολλά από αυτά, αλλά δυστυχώς πολλές φορές το ιδιοκτησιακό καθεστώς και των ιδιωτών, αλλά ακόμα και του δημοσίου είναι φάμιλο, πολλές φορές τίθεται ένα αμφιβόλο και με ένα μεγάλο ερωτηματικό. Οπότε εκεί που κανείς μπορεί να έχει περιουσία σε κάποιο μέρος, επειδή ναι μεν είναι κάτω από έναν τοπικό παράγοντα, από μια τοπική κοινωνία, θεωρεί και η τοπική κοινωνία, επειδή ζει τοπικά, ότι του ανήκει και η περιουσία του τρίτου. Οπότε είναι κάτι το οποίο θα ήθελα να μας βοηθήσετε, τουλάχιστον ως εταιρεία κινήτων, γιατί νομίζω τίθονται πολλά ερωτηματικά στα θέματα των ιδιοκτησιών και καλό είναι σιγά σιγά να κλείνουμε θέματα για να μπορούμε να πορευτούμε όλοι σε σωστή βάση.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ. Δευτέρη, έχεις κάτι να κλείσουμε?
Καλησπέρα σε όλους. I don't know if you want to address in English or in Greece. In Greek. In Greek, okay. Καλησπέρα σε όλους και πάλι.
No, but close to We're fine.
Nobody.
No, it's good.
Kostas is really far away.
Kostas is paying attention.
So, concluding. Okay. So,
I'm in your country.
no, you are our guest. That's how it goes. So, I was saying, I waited patiently in my corner just to hear you all. And first of all, thank you for having me here. It's such an honor to be among such distinguished guests. You've heard it before, but it's true. So I wanted to address a couple of issues regarding what we're discussing right here. First of all, we have the hospitality issue, which is how can somebody can have a good time away from their home, and us coming from the real estate issue, the real estate sector, is how to provide the right infrastructure in order for this to become feasible. Some people argue that real estate and hospitality are not integrated, but as you well know, it's so blended that in terms of hotels or any other facilities cannot be distinguished in any other way. Now, we've heard a lot about education. Everybody's trying to educate everybody about how to develop things, how to become more efficient, how to bring people in Greece. And actually, part of our business is to educate people. It's like we are a frodisterio or like a high school. Everybody's trying to educate, and this means that we're not the most easy market of the world. That's a thing, and it doesn't have to do with Mr. Konstantinos or their investment. We have other issues that we're gradually solving them, but we're not the best, the more easiest market in the world. Now, in terms of investments from the US, from those that you don't know, we also have a real estate and development committee in the AmCham, where I have the honor to be the president, and I have members of this committee here. And we're trying also to promote the Greek real estate in the US in order to bring FDI, not only in retail, as we say, but in a huge FDI, in great numbers that will add value to the market more than we can expect. The thing is that the two main obstacles that we have to face, and they're not to be argued, is that distance is not our friend, and also there are several companies from the US that are waiting for the investment grade to become a reality in order to allocate huge amounts of capital in Greece. And when I'm talking about huge amounts, I mean about 500 million. We are in discussions with several people, with several companies about this, and we have a positive feedback that when we will have the investment grade, they will be more happy and more reliable in order to have such huge investments. I know that there are pioneers here, or they could be addressed as pioneers, but the thing remains that when somebody comes to our country, it's difficult to live and to go back and never come back again. But in order to bring such huge capital in a country, you need to have a specific amount of criteria that at the moment we are about to achieve or about to take. Now, in terms of the product, of the existing product, I'm very proud that within the last 25 years where I'm in the business, we have done huge steps in order to improve our product, I mean, the real estate product, which is a big plus in order to attract and to sustain high spenders. The thing that I can see is that we lack in the marketing aspect of bringing them and keeping them. This is not my field of expertise, but this is what my feedback, that's what is my feedback from the US. Some people are referring to the Greece or the state that it was 20 or 30 years before. Some others are not willing to come here because of their previous, the 10-year crisis. But overall, I understand that we have a lot to do, and I'm very sure that we can continue in doing our efforts in order to bring the biggest investments and the biggest investors in Greece. Thank you.
There is just a question. You said investment grade. Who influences that? Who has the influence on that?
Sorry?
The investment grade.
Investment grade, yes. Well,
who influences that? Who will influence that? From the U.S. side or from here?
Well, from the U.S. side, of course. There are people that are waiting for the investment grade.
I think you mean like Moody's and the credit rating agencies. Yeah. So it's they come out and they do. You guys know this, right? They come out and they do surveys. They talk to us all the time and then try to figure out where you guys are going to be.
So you will help? Is that what you're saying?
So I'm trying to help you guys out, but I don't know if I've got much power over that.
I don't think you have power. But this is
now you have the ambassador behind you, so why not?
I mean, they cannot really influence this type of rating agencies. But the fact is that Greece is going to become investment grade really soon. Right. The economy so far is performing very well. So we're very confident that we're going to comply with this requirements.
I totally agree, but unless they hear unless they hear the good news, they're not willing to proceed. This is something that we have heard for the last 3 to 4 years.
I will just add, I think one of the challenges we have continually is getting investors to believe Greece is what it actually is now versus what Greece was 10 years ago. So the investment grade is a marker where they can justify spending a lot of capital in Greece because people still have a dated view.
Yeah. So perception is reality. That's the reality. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. It was very nice. And thank you very much for taking your time to join us. Thank you very much. Right now, the world isn't just reopening. Humanity is reawakening. This moment presents each of us with an opportunity to demonstrate who we are at our core. We are resilient humans, fueled by persistent optimism. Together, we can reimagine a better world, understanding that every action we take today, no matter how big or small, will contribute to a thriving new tomorrow. Let's come together and make a difference for the greater good. Our businesses,
our communities, one another, and the promise of more together days.